Good evening and welcome to the Minions of the Zoo. I'm your host and keeper of the Harry Channel, and with me tonight are Minions SkepTock.
Hey, everybody.
And DrFunctional.
No, I am the Harry Channel.
All right.
No, I am.
Let's, I think I need to boost your mic slightly, Skep. Oh, I've actually got you boosted. You got the right input set again?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hang on.
Sounds okay to me.
All right. So, anyway.
I'll checking just to be sure.
Okay. It has been
Yeah, Blue Snowball. Yep.
one hell of a week.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Can you hear me?
Yep. You sound okay.
All right.
You're just a little quiet. I can actually boost that, but I'll boost some other things. Anyway.
No.
So
Don't
we
do that.
we have a ton of stuff we could talk about. I don't know if you want to talk about the
Is
Trump.
that better?
Yeah, if you want to talk about the Trump indictment thing, or not, because it's been sort of talked to death, and I don't know what more we can add to it. But I'm happy to entertain it
and
for a
say
bit.
all the same things that everybody else has said.
Yeah,
think.
we can all recite the Jonathan Turley stuff, and
Exactly.
yeah, so we could just skip that if everybody's good with it.
Thanks.
Okay, cool. Is there anything else we don't want to talk about tonight? Joe Biden looking evil Longoria? Well, he didn't really, but
The only thing that I would say about the Trump indictment is I don't think this is the serious indictment. I think the serious indictment is going to be the stuff in Georgia.
we can all stay tuned for that.
Yep.
Cool.
And that's something that he can run for president, from jail and be inaugurated, and he can't adjust that even if he's president.
Alrighty then. So how was your day today, Skep? Or how were your last few days? I haven't spoken with you since Tuesday.
Yeah, it's been a good time. Everybody's adjusting to the new dog, the new grandkid, and I've been harvesting tomatoes like I mean to go into the tomato business. We are really producing a lot of big, huge, top quality tomatoes, which are going straight into the freeze dryer and going into, vacuum sealed. I'm hardcore into this now.
Okay.
I've got two different kinds of sealers.
Nice.
Anyway, and it evacuates the bag, seals the bag, and it feels like the sort of thing you would decant aboard the ISS. So it's but it's great stuff, and the the blueberry raisins are amazing. It's an improvement on regular raisins.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Craisins are pretty good too, but
Craisins are good too.
as bad as MREs are, there's a snack you can get on the MREs which are osmotic raisins. And they are dried out enough that they won't go bad, but they're juicy and plump and fantastic. They're way better than the regular raisins in the store.
Really?
Yep. Osmotic raisins. Anyway, hey, Functional.
All right.
How you doing, man?
I was watching the Attack of the Killer Tomatoes the other day.
As one
And
does.
I was thinking,
Yeah.
excuse me, holy shit!
It's a healthy stream.
Yeah.
Really, Jesus.
Coughing like
I
man.
just choked on my own tongue for a second there. Oh no! I watch a lot. I'm a cinephile. I watch a lot of obscure movies. I watch a lot of classics that I watched maybe when I was a kid or something. Rewatch them, and so I was watching Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, and it had me thinking of Skep, of course, for obvious reasons, tomatoes. But I noticed that the sheriff. Was it the sheriff, the deputy? I don't know. One of the law enforcement dudes, might have been the military guy. Kind of reminded me of Skep too, just in his mannerisms, the way he talks. It was funny. Anyway, I'm all right.
Well, that's good. Have you ever seen a movie called Rhinoceros?
It sounds familiar.
It has Zero Mostel and Gene Wilder in it, and it's
Wilder,
I can't remember who
yes.
wrote the absurdist
time
novel
ago.
that it's based on. What?
I have not seen that.
Well,
That's old, isn't it? From
it's oldish. Well, okay, that's not that old, but it's still in color. They have sound.
In 1974.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah. I've seen it.
It's an interesting movie, and so if you sort of like absurd things that have a bit of comedy, this is a little darker. Rhinoceros is one that will make you scratch your head. And of course, anything with Gene Wilder is automatically good.
I love Gene Wilder.
Yeah.
He was an early favorite of mine.
He could just stand there and read the phone book, and it'd be fine.
He made substandard scripts better than they had any right to be.
Any right to be.
Oh, God, yes.
He really was that good.
And then you get gems like Hear No Evil, See No Evil with him and Pryor, and you're just... Some
Young
people...
Frankenstein, of course.
Yeah. You have to be careful who you let see that movie, because honestly, I could see myself die laughing. Like, literally die from laughing too hard. Like, choking because of that movie. It's such a funny movie. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
No holds barred either.
The thing about Young Frankenstein is that you get laughing really hard at one bit, and before you're finished laughing, another bit that's just as funny comes up, and you get in this kind of parallel standing wave laughing feedback loop between the two bits, and you just lose it. It is so funny. I know exactly what you're talking about. There are parts of that movie I laugh so hard that my face gets tired. And I'm a natural smiler. Anyway.
Your face gets tired, your ribs hurt because you're just...
Yes.
Yeah, Blazing Saddles too.
Yeah. Good times. So, shall we get into it then?
Osmotic.
Yeah.
Osmotic raisins. Okay.
Yeah.
So, we talked about the Port of Los Angeles more than a few times on this show, because I bring up a lot of the LA stuff. But the Port of Los Angeles has been having a lot of problems lately because they've been having labor issues. So, as of late, cargo volumes increased at the Port of Los Angeles during May 2023, marking the third consecutive month that the port's cargo volumes have risen. The Port of Los Angeles handled 779,140 20-foot equivalent units. So that's like how many containers that they basically moved in a month. That is a staggering amount of stuff, a 60% increase since February. However, the port has been seeing its handling rates fall by 19% when compared to 2022. And you may ask, why should I care about this dry, uninteresting set of statistics? Well, because this is how your stuff, this is how your stuff
most of
makes
your
it
shit
from the east to your house or to the place that you work or anything else. They've been having a lot of problems, and we're looking at drops year after year. Things are just not going well. And lately, they've been having labor issues. So they finally, looks like they have a contract, and it just came through. Now, they didn't really want to release what the terms of this contract were. They were being very, very hush-hush about what the contract actually had in it. Because this covers 22,000 workers at 29 West Coast ports. It isn't just LA, it's all up and down the West Coast.
Yeah, the West, that's the longshoremen's, right?
Now, just out of curiosity, Skep, before benefits and before overtime or anything else and bonuses, what do you think the average person working at the port makes a year? As
in the union as a longshoreman?
Yeah.
I would say 150,000 before benefits. 150.
Yeah. So the two sides finally agreed on a 32% wage increase through 2028. 32%, and a one-time pandemic hero bonus of $70 million.
What?
7 million.
Let me see. That's like $50,000 to every single worker in that 22,000.
It's a lot.
Roughly.
It's a lot like that, isn't it?
It's like 38. It's about $38,000 to each person. Did they really do that?
Yeah, under the expired contract. Now, this is before they got their raise. Under the expired contract, union members earned an average of nearly $195,000 a year, not including overtime or bonuses. And also they had benefits that averaged $102,000 a year per worker. This is the old deal that wasn't good enough.
That's, wow. That's not too shabby for where I live.
My goodness.
Yeah. That's a lot of money.
It's good to be the king. I mean, honestly, when you're in such a pivotal role like that the country depends on you, you have a lot of bargaining power. Good for them, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, fleece them. These companies make billions in record profits every year, so why not? It sucks that it sucks that it boils down to everybody else as well, because the nature of the beast.
But at least they're showing up for work now, because they've been really slow playing it for the last several months. Unofficial labor actions.
You know what this does? There's some localized inflation going on here, and it's all happening in California. It's happening with the property values in the big cities. I'll tell you, these long-term speculators, these are the guys who control the big real estate money, who support these very high valuation properties. You're standing on the shoulders of real financial giants, of people with real money, and there is no. There's a long way to fall. There is a long way to fall if the long-term speculators lose confidence in some of the urban areas in California. And I'm concerned it will affect, a lot of the state.
Yeah. So I know this is completely unrelated. There's certainly no way that this next thing is related to any of the two things we talked about before. Port of Los Angeles ups capital budget by 41% for infrastructure updates.
Okay, where is that? Let's see. Port of Los Angeles.
Isn't that on the West Coast?
Why would they be increasing their capital budget for infrastructure updates by 41%? I wonder what they're trying to do.
Somebody's got a new tax in mind. So one of two ways to fund that kind of money. And that's a lot of money right there.
I think they're trying to save money by getting rid of some of their labor is what they're trying to do. Infrastructure upgrades, this to me sounds like, at $300,000 for fully loaded for an employee without overtime, you can apply a lot of technology to make this port more efficient.
Yeah, and automate quite a bit of it.
I don't think this is about spending more money. I think this is about ultimately saving it.
I think you're more of an optimist than I am. I hope you're right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm sure they also got gold-plated toilets in there, gold-plated urinals.
That's actually what I think. This is a boondoggle. That most of the 41% will be spent in grift. It will never be. It will never even hit the port. It will just be distributed to, the worthy people and the diversity experts and so forth who have to be fed.
Well, thank God it's going to the right place.
But correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't the rumblings for all of this start right when the lockdown started to happen? And correct me if I'm wrong. We talked about, and I remember mentioning it could have been here, could have been on Pat's show, that it seems like they're sort of pouncing on the opportunity because they're kind of being forced to be the only people to work, even though things got backed up and all this other nonsense. That's when the iron was ready for striking, and right, like this is kind of, it's been more than just a few months. I mean, obviously the latest negotiations have happened in the last 6 months, but I remember ever since COVID, that's when I started hearing about this kind of stuff and reading about it. It all seems a little too convenient to connect the dots.
Yeah, it does seem rather convenient, doesn't it? But I don't think we're going to spend 2 hours talking about longshoremen. So let me move on to the next thing.
I just like dots.
I know. Let's see. What is that?
Burly men with lousy vocabularies.
All right, so the next thing is this.
This is what Musk says. Pull it up. Won't be.
Okay, hold on. Why am I getting mute? Let's see. Why am I not getting any audio here?
I could hear it.
Oh, you could hear it?
Yeah, I could hear
Yeah,
it.
we could hear it.
Okay, well, if you can hear it, then the stream can probably hear it, so I'll just suffer.
Be long before there are class action lawsuits by shareholders against the company and board of directors for destruction of shareholder value. Even Kevin O'Leary is warning about losses. Watch here.
How this happened is being scrutinized by lots of other boards right now. On one hand, companies want to show their support of diversity and all the mandates that society is discussing openly. On the other hand, the job of a business, particularly from the perspective of an investor, and those that are retired are concerned that maybe they're losing their way in terms of what the prime objective is. Your customers, your
I'm at a
employees,
disadvantage since I
and
can't
yeah,
hear
your
you.
shareholders. If
And
you
money!
start to get
Yes!
Too
Yes.
distant or too
Duh!
far away from the primary mandate.
So it's that whole thing about the fiduciary responsibility. If you run your business in such a way that you cause the shareholders harm because you're not actually taking your job seriously, you have some other priorities. I think Elon's absolutely right, and I mean, I've said the same thing, but I don't think it really matters all that much when I say it. When the richest guy in the world says it, I think it matters.
A well-received company is somebody, because Kevin O'Leary says, first he says to the customers, to the employees, and to the shareholders. So, yes, I think that's the best balance, the trifecta that companies should strive for, because you don't want to fall out of public favor. Like even Walmart, they catch some flack, they lose some things go up, things go down, and they're the biggest in the country. If you have that balance, you're on easy street, let's say. Your customers are happy, your employees are happy, everybody's getting paid. When one of those things falls out, there needs to be a lot of spending to try to fix the problem. And somebody like Target is going to have to spend more money than it's going to be worth to try to fix their image because of this latest thing. And they're not, and that's only the one part. The other part is they're not listening to their customers. Their customers were like, no, this is ridiculous. We know the stories they're talking about. We're not talking about, hurting people because of who they are. We're talking about pushing the air quotes, the message, the narrative into people's faces. And people had took issue with that. They pushed it aside. They said, you know what? We made a mistake, unlike certain other companies recently who didn't apologize. They doubled down. And they said, so there might be some crawlback for Target on that end. On the other side, with the threats that had been going on, I don't think losing that market share is a big deal.
No. Well, I mean, it's business 101, right? You want to take money from as many people as possible so you get more money overall. If I walk into a bicycle, like a motorcycle accessory store, and there's a whole bunch of racks of women's motorcycle clothes, I don't care. Doesn't affect me. There's nothing about putting out women's motorcycle clothes that makes my stuff seem like I'm not being appreciated. But I think with the Bud Light thing and a lot of this other stuff, a lot of people are kind of feeling like, hey, I'm not good enough for you. It's sort of the distracted boyfriend meme.
I can
and people are getting
maybe
offended
I was just
by it.
thinking of that.
Yeah.
I can kind of understand where you're going with that, but specifically what I was talking about was the instances where people in more rural areas were taking issue with the fact that there were big pride displays in children's sections of clothing, and I understand the response of Target saying, oh, okay, this isn't, we're going to listen to the customers. But there were also people who, in other places that weren't as rural, more urban, more suburban, who how can I put this without, I don't want to get us in any trouble, but who had similar complaints and then were immediately painted as terrorists.
Yes.
They were painted as evil, for voicing their opinion. And I mean, there is a larger narrative right now, counter narrative, I should say, that is just leave the kids alone. And that's being targeted by talking heads in the media. It's going back and forth. So in the media's portrayal of this, they're ignoring the threats of one side, hyper focusing on threats from the other side. I don't see. Again, Target can recoup, but they're going to have to explain to their shareholders, look, we now have to spend $50 million to fix this, to put us back on track where we were before. And I don't think that that's going to make very many people happy, because that usually means things like layoffs, which boils down to the employees, and price differences that people might not be expecting at a place like Target, which people don't shop at Target because it's luxurious. They shop at it because it's a cheaper retailer, like Walmart. Like it's they buy in bulk so that they can sell at a cheaper price.
Well, Target actually put some other brands out of business that belonged to the same parent company. I still remember when Target destroyed Mervyn's. So Mervyn's was kind of a economical department store. So it's like, come here, get good towels at a cheap price. Well, you can also get good towels at a cheap price across the street, and you can get Target brand snickerdoodles. You get all of the stuff. So in a lot of ways, Target was successful not just because it was cheap, it was also successful because it offered a range of products that kind of made people want to go there. I know
because a
people
lot
who
of
would
these
just go to Target just to look around.
Right.
A lot of these big companies, their house brands, they go to the standard manufacturers of your named brands. A lot of them will get contracts to say, hey, make us our house brand chocolate, our house brand chips, whatever, and it's basically the same manufacturer, but they buy it in such volume that how many boxes of snickerdoodles, like actual snickerdoodles, is that corporation going to buy? Probably a lot, but not as much as, say, if they went directly to the manufacturer and said, okay, well, we need 10 times that for our own house brand because it sells so much better, and blah blah blah. They get an amazing deal on that.
Well, Target's also cool, right? See, that's the thing. They try to have a certain amount of cool. Like, we're young, we're hip, we're fresh, but we're still
Elvin's
right.
It's a more
priced,
bougie Walmart,
as opposed to Walmart, which
it's
really feels
model.
weirdly down market no matter what you do. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. But let's see. We shall move on to the next thing. It's going to be a problem if I can't hear the audio.
It's funny because they tried to get market share up here in Canada and they failed miserably.
They did.
Which was surprising to me because
they don't usually fail. That's why.
We love Walmart up here. Why did Target? I'd love to look into it sometime.
Yeah.
Report back.
Maybe the bullseye trademark is too militaristic for Canada.
Probably. Seems a bit hostile, eh? Okay.
Yeah.
So
you say that, but I see people on the street salute or wave and say hello to military personnel all the time and thank them all the time. It's actually kind of sweet.
I was just.
No. I'm just saying it's kind of sweet because it kind of gives that little patriotic bump in your heart,
All right. So next thing, you guys remember the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence? We may have mentioned that.
Unfortunately.
Well, now you'll be reminded.
After weeks of back and forth, the Los Angeles Dodgers invite the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence to their Pride Night. The decision
Look at how empty that is.
Passionate voices
and you might
on
wonder
both
yourself,
sides of the debate.
why are there no people
They
here?
will invite this group.
What's going on?
that
Well, there are
mocks
plenty of people
the
outside.
Catholic
because
they're all
faith
outside.
and makes
Yeah.
fun of the Catholic religion.
I'm glad the Dodgers
Yeah.
re-invite them for sure.
I don't care what this has to say. So yeah, they went ahead and they uninvited them because they thought they were being disrespectful to all their Catholic patrons, which they are. And then they got heat for uninviting them and then re-inviting them. So they had some sort, as part of their pride thing, they had like a little ceremony to honor them before the game. And because of security reasons, they did it even earlier than they normally would. So essentially, they gave them their "We're proud of you" thing in a mostly empty stadium.
In an empty stadium an hour before the game.
Empty stadium an hour before the game. But they're trying to
funny.
pass this off as being, honoring the LGBTQ.
Yeah. Nice
Also
try.
here at 11, religious groups protesting the Dodgers' 10th annual Pride Night, an event that celebrates
So there's
inclusion
your
and
protesters.
diversity.
That's a lot of
The groups had
protesters.
rallied against an activist organization made up of drag queens dressed as nuns.
That's right, but the Sisters of
And the news is
Perpetual
trying
Indulgence
really
say
hard
they
to
had
spin
no
this the
issue
way,
with the
they're
protests.
supposed to.
Thousands of demonstrators briefly blocked the entrance to Dodger Stadium. They protested against the nuns, saying that they mocked the Catholic
big scheme of
religion.
things,
The
that's not enough
protests were
people to
largely
change the
peaceful, though.
Dodgers'
Chris
mind on
Wolf
much
joining
anything.
us live from Dodger
That's,
Stadium,
what,
where
1,000
celebration
people
and
maybe?
condemnation were on full display tonight. Chris?
Yeah, that's right, Rick and Cher. There was an extra heavy police presence outside Dodger Stadium today, but we can tell you there were no major problems.
Yeah, so people showed up for the thing, but it seems like very much a Pyrrhic victory to me. I don't see... I guess everybody gets to claim that they won or something?
There's enough confusion in the wreckage that everybody can say they survived, and everybody is just going to move on. There won't be a lot of commentary about this after today. This will be forgotten so instantly.
This LA Times article is hilarious. Dodgers Pride Night feels like a rainbow of love as sisters are honored. Yeah.
Copium.
Dodger Stadium has
that is
rarely
copium,
felt
that's
more
right.
full. It has rarely looked more empty, but it's never felt more full. That's some industrial strength copium. An hour before the Dodgers hosted the Giants on Friday night.
That's the fucking Ogden Nash of copium.
In the strangest of sights, there were no players in the dugout, no players on the field, and barely a couple of hundred fans in the stand. Sister Unity and Sister Domina didn't mind. They stood in front of the third baseline and embraced their Community Hero Awards medals as if they were accepting an Oscar. Aww. They waved to a handful of people waving back. They basked in the scattered cheers. They swept dramatically off the field, smiling with painted faces and swooshing their blue and black habits.
Look how important
Perfectly
I am.
normal.
Look how important I am. Oh my lord.
That's exactly it.
Yep.
I'm not
That
really
is
sure what their
exactly
service to the community is. Not to mention, they're from San Francisco, not L.A. So why L.A. is giving them a community service?
What part
I
of the
don't know.
Catholic Church are they aligned with? Usually nunneries, convents are aligned with one of the different, like the Franciscan order or Dominican nuns, so forth.
Yeah.
Are these the asshole nuns?
Something, I don't know. They're on...
They've been known to advocate for the innocence of pedophiles.
See,
that's
here's,
good.
Here's the problem that I have. I applaud the libertarian spirit of, yes, let them speak, let that speech out there, but I don't have to like it, and I don't have to like what they do.
And you don't have to give them an award.
It doesn't mean that I have any animus against gay people or people of any sexuality. And I even like the idea of making fun of the Catholics. I hate the Catholic Church. I don't like very
No, I'll
much
go full
anything about it
Hitchens
at
on
all.
them. Yeah, it's not a problem.
And but doing it in a hatefully classless, sophomoric way and spreading that jam across the electronic plane makes me sad.
That's what they want. They need their attention.
Yeah.
Even if it's 5 people, they just want attention. Ugh.
Yuck. Okay, I feel dirty. Let's move on to the next
Yeah.
thing.
I hope you have some bueno
Palate cleansers?
palate cleansers.
You want a palate cleanser?
I think we need one.
Sure.
Okay.
After looking at that
No,
asshole
it's
with
fine.
the
I
beard.
have plenty of palate
Some bleach
cleansers.
in the eyes.
Okay,
that
I'm
out
gonna
of
do.
my
Okay. Well, first I have to torture functional. Okay.
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 That'll be fun.
Oh boy.
So explain this to me, if you will. Okay, just cringe with me for a moment.
Guys, I don't fry eggs anymore. I just make them like this. It is
Looks
so much better.
delicious.
So to start this recipe, I'm going to be cracking
I don't
4
fry
eggs
eggs anymore.
into
I
a
just do
bowl.
this now.
And I'm going to, in a moment,
Okay.
start to
So I'm
separate
gonna
the yolks
separate out
from the
the
whites.
Yolks.
adding in a little bit of salt. I'm also going to be adding in some parsley. And then into my egg yolks, I'm also going to add some salt. Add some butter to our pan, and I'm going to add them into the pan. Some cheese. Very carefully, I'm just going to be rolling up, adding in my egg whites. Don't add them all yet. We're going to reserve half of them, and we're going to cook the other half to start. So after cooking the egg whites well, we're going to continue rolling our omelet, and I'm going to add the rest of my egg whites to finish the process. All right, this is starting to look really good.
How is this better?
See how beautiful this turned out? Okay, so to finish off, I'm just going to roll up the rest of my omelet and very, very carefully remove my omelet from the pan, and it looks like this. Guys, I don't fry eggs anymore. I just make them like this. It is so much better. So to start this...
It's not the same because the eggs aren't even mixed. You've got like an egg white omelet wrapped around an egg yolk
but she said it looks amazing. I mean, it looks like a fucking omelet. It looks no different than any other fucking omelet. But you're correct in that she's ruining it by separating the ingredients. The process of cooking, the science of cooking is bringing ingredients together, not taking them apart.
Yes. Thank you, Functional.
What would they do to her in France, Skep? I imagine she was running like a little crepe cart in France, and she said, I've got like a new thing for you. They would lay tar and lay feather her and drive her out.
No kidding.
This is absolutely terrible. Okay, so that's not really...
It's like, it's like, hey, Skep, you want some ice cream? Here's a cup of cold cream and a cup of sugar. Enjoy.
Right. No. Here's a load of fat. Here's a bunch of sugar. Here's some flavoring. Yeah. Exactly.
No. Take a spoonful of each, and then open your mouth, and I'll squirt a little vanilla extract in there.
Right.
It's the dumbest. We use the word already. It's bougie.
Yeah.
Hey, look at how different I can be. You know what?
You just put your finger on it right there. Look how different I could be. This is a woman who was looking for an angle. That's all.
Yeah, of course, because we're in the attention economy, right?
It's like one of those idiots who boils pasta in Gatorade. Just
one of the love them or hate them. One of Gordon Ramsay's go-tos is the test of a chef is how well you can cook an egg. One of the most simple yet versatile ingredients in a chef's repertoire. Can you cook a perfect egg, a perfect soft-boiled egg, hard-boiled egg, scrambled egg, omelet, whatever. Just simple. You don't go any fancy. Just simple. And I tell you, the best eggs I've ever eaten have been those simple but perfectly cooked. There is a world of difference between a perfectly cooked soft-boiled egg and one that's been off by about 30 seconds in either direction. You can tell. If you have a palate, you can tell.
No kidding.
That didn't make me angry. That just makes me, hungry for eggs.
It makes me angry because it's desperate, attention-seeking, and it's just wrong.
That's exactly.
I'm desensitized to it.
It's just wrong.
It is wrong.
Somebody's going to waste a bunch of time and effort trying to duplicate what this neurotic is doing.
She better have a lot of...
They're going to end up with a disappointing product, and they're going to say, well, this is bullshit. It doesn't even look right. I promise you.
No, it's bullshit. It's bullshit.
There's no value. This is a value-free. This is a value-free video.
Yeah.
Utterly value-free.
Egg version of a Swiss roll. That's an insult to Swiss roll.
Yeah, I was going to say I like Swiss roll.
And actually, okay, that was the one part I thought was interesting because all these people talked about frying eggs. Those are not fried eggs the way she did it.
No,
she may have cooked it in a frying pan, but it is not substantially immersed in any kind of fat.
Exactly.
You can pan fry an egg, but it's not cooked by hot fat, so it's not even really fried. I forgot the comments section of this made me sad and want to hurt people. I completely forgot about how much I hated the comments. She only fries them. Shut up. Okay.
I like the second one.
Oh, which one?
Wait.
The second one.
Back up.
This video should be called "How to Make a Simple Thing into a Complicated Mess." How to make delicious eggs into a flavor abomination. It's just not going to be good. And she overcooked them anyway, which is It doesn't matter. Okay.
Can I tell you? I saw. Hold on. No, I need an aside because this made me grinds my gears. I saw one of these fucking shorts, chat. It was this kid who put a steak into an air fryer. If I
and
you know what he did? You know what he did? He sprayed it with cooking spray. If I ever catch anyone doing that, I'm going to punch you so hard your ancestors are going to feel it for generations to come.
Gonna kick him so hard.
Figure that one out.
Kick him in the balls so hard that his doctor's gonna think he has 2 goiters. All right. So
these cooking shorts.
Okay, let's do so. Okay, let's look at something actually interesting or actually entertaining. An actual palate cleanser. Skep, you're gonna love this.
All right.
Okay. ESP teaching machines, 1971 to 1973.
Is this the one from Duke University?
No, this is from the one from SRI.
Stanford?
In the early 1970s,
yeah.
the Stanford Research Institute received funding and support from a number of sources, including the Central Intelligence Agency.
Yes.
Ed Mitchell of Apollo and and Werner Erhard. Forget EST, that's stupid. To look into psychic phenomena such as clairvoyance, ESP, and precognition, SRI researchers Harold Puthoff and Russell Targ — Russell Targ is a really famous guy — worked with prominent pop psychics Ingo Swann and Uri Geller in what they soon called remote viewing experiments. As CIA funding dried up due to increased budget scrutiny in the aftermath of Watergate, Targ and Puthoff looked to other sources of funding. One of those sources was the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. Because if you can use psychic ability to send signals into deep space faster than light, then that's a good thing, right?
Yeah. That, it's just after it, now that we've discovered the principle, it's just engineering, right?
Yeah. So they built these machines to try to establish whether people had ESP powers, and this one right here in the middle was an ESP test that was sold and placed in restaurants like a recreational machine. Like you'd have a pinball machine, and there were only a few of them made, and they were only located in the San Francisco Bay Area. But for a brief time, you could go to Shakey's Pizza, and if you wanted, you could take a test to see if you have ESP using this machine at Shakey's Pizza. I was always surprised they had this place called the Burger Pit when I was a kid, and I went there and they had a biorhythm machine. And you could calculate your biorhythms, which is ridiculous.
Since you brought up Shakey's Pizza, can I tell you that the first time I ever performed music in public on a stage in front of people was at Shakey's Pizza. They had an open mic night in, I'm going to say it was 1968.
Yeah. Nice.
And I got to keep half my tips.
So, but the
I'm not kidding.
No.
That really.
But this SRI stuff, SRI would do, they were a think tank.
Anyway.
And they would they would do whatever you needed to have done. If you pay them money, they will research it and get back to you. I mean, these are the people that invented about a little more than half of the internet, no matter how you look at it.
Yep.
Yeah, the original internet autists.
Well, there was some stuff that was pulled from the UK facility that actually substantially improved the original standard. But
it was a think tank that actually did thinking.
But Paul Barrand, back in the late 50s, was trying to find a way to make networks more survivable because the Ruskies were coming after us. But they also did stuff like this, which led to something
Minecraft?
that probably looks familiar to a bunch of people.
Square. Good guess, but wrong.
So this sort of thing that they're dealing with here in Ghostbusters.
Clear your head.
Yeah, I have a good feeling about our ESP ability.
Tell me what you think it is.
Is it a star?
It is a star.
Anyway, spent too much time looking at that.
Look at the look on his face.
But these kinds of things, the stuff that they did in this movie, is exactly sort of, I don't know, a parody, a representation, an homage to the stuff that was really being done at SRI. And I think the hook to the story where they had these things in restaurants as just an amusement device really drives it home to me at least. I can't remember ever running into one of those, but I don't know. I thought it was kind of a cool story. So back to depressing things.
No, ESP has the allure of, the superpower allure.
Mm-hmm.
And it was worth checking out if there had been low hanging fruit there. It would have revolutionized the world.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out there wasn't. So interesting dead end, but that's the way it goes.
So have you guys been following what's been going on and we talked about Twitch briefly not that long ago and the huge mess that is Twitch, but have you been following what's been going on at Reddit?
Yeah,
I've heard something, but no.
Well, Reddit really wants to turn into a real company when they grow up, with like actual profits and long-term viability and stuff. And to do that, they really need to go public. So the issue for Reddit is that there's an API that you can use to get data out of Reddit. And apps like Apollo are a much better experience for people than Reddit's actual app. And so these other companies
sucks.
So things like the third-party apps were making it so that you could use Reddit without seeing any of their commercials or being subjected to anything that makes them any money. So they said
crappy user interface for my money.
So they decided that to be a real business, they were going to have to start charging the users of the API who really pulled a lot of data in order to use it. And that works out to, I forget how many tens of millions of dollars a year just for Apollo. So 3 of the big ones just said, oh, well, I guess we're done. And they closed up shop almost immediately. But the mods who have this ridiculous amount of power, because Reddit essentially runs on this model of we're going to make a bunch of money and we're going to make it off of other people's content, and let's just let volunteers do the moderating so we don't have to spend a bunch of money like companies like Twitter and Facebook do. So they got rid of the whole moderation thing by just letting amateurs do it in exchange for clout.
We'll do it. We'll go with full Jimmy Whalen.
So
they did the full Wikipedia thing.
Well, so the mods, some of which have, I think it was like 6 mods controlled thousands of subreddits, some just insane number.
I heard there was really unusual distribution.
Yeah. Well, there's this guy who's going back, we don't need to go through the whole history of Ellen Powell and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But they've essentially made whole parts of Reddit just go dark. And because they don't like this, nobody wants to go along with this. They just want it to be free and work the way that it's supposed to. But the people who run Reddit want it to actually be commercially viable. So what we have here is a conflict of visions. The same kind of thing that's happened more than a few times. Anything that you get for free that gives you what you want, that sounds fantastic. And then somebody goes wanting to make money, and it's like, oh, wait a second. Now it's no good.
I think they can solve this with a software solution that it effectively provides the old-time Reddit experience for what's there, and they can provide a different experience for paying customers if they want to.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've never used this Apollo app. Do the people who are using the third-party or the API to pull data from Reddit, are they displaying their own ads, or are they just doing it for yucks?
Of course they are.
Yeah.
No, of course they are. You're not going to get away from the ads. That's the only reason to do it would be to better be able to access the stuff that's in Reddit. The big frustration that I have using Reddit is finding shit.
Mm-hmm.
It's so hierarchically organized, and my brain is so relational, and my brain is object oriented. I've talked with Harry about this before. I believe that the universe is object oriented. That I believe it's an object oriented architecture. I actually do.
Well, if you go by the theory that there's really only one photon, it just is conveniently located where it needs to be at any given moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Then that's your reference count for you.
Yep.
Yeah, don't want to free that up. Oh no, I accidentally freed the only photon. Oh, nothingness. Okay. Yeah, this Reddit thing is a huge mess. I don't have a particular love for Reddit or the guy Spaz or Spez or whatever his nickname is, the guy who sort of runs the thing, because he seems to be, pretty darn mercenary. Which this is fine, but he's not all that. His main, it's pretty obvious what it is he's interested in, which is making money, and it's his job to make money.
What is his plan? What is his plan to reorganize it?
His plan was to, when things didn't go particularly well, their plan is to now let people essentially vote the mods out of control. So they're going to let the Reddit users decide if they want to take away the power of one of the mods.
Let the rating begin.
Yeah, so let the... So they're going to... So they outsourced the moderation stuff, and now they're going to outsource the internal affairs division for the mods.
Sure.
What could possibly go wrong, right?
It's just, lynch mobs are okay. Come on down.
Reddit is so screwed. Reddit was a mistake.
Oh, the Schadenfreude.
Spez, is that his name? Spez? He's an idiot and shouldn't be in charge of Eliminate Stand. Yeah. He also has a very punchable face. Not recommending that anybody punch him. I'm just saying he has a punchable face. There's a difference.
What's that? Gesicht or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Pfeifengesicht. Anyway, we need Prospero here.
Well, Reddit was huge and bloated, and if they are going to turn it into a business, he's already been doing part of that, which is trimming the workforce down, kind of like Elon did at Twitter. It's great. Twitter still functions with 90% of the people gone. That's some good efficiency, and there's probably even more that they can come up with. Reddit, similarly, it's getting to be a little bit more lean, but I don't know. I'm not a fan of the mods, and I'm not a fan of Spez, and I'm not really a fan of any of this stuff. I mean, I kind of hate everybody a little bit involved in this story.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's an imperfect world, Harry. They did not make it perfect for us.
Yeah, and over on the Twitch side, all the gaming streamers, so I guess XQC is one of the big Twitch streamers. Yeah, I'm just, hello, fellow kids. I don't know anything about this stuff. But apparently this individual has had a deal with Kick. It is a 2-year, $100 million deal that's non-exclusive. That is really getting your balls cupped. That is like some really serious service that he's getting. $100 million and not even an exclusive deal. Even Joe Rogan didn't get a deal quite like that. Wow.
That's a lot of money. 2 years non-exclusive. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
That's better. We talked a couple weeks ago. We talked about the pros in World of Warcraft. That's more than the entire team makes in a year.
That's like, this is death noises. This group's in trouble.
This group is in serious trouble.
Yeah. Twitch is very. There's been a lot of.
And look at this. Amaranth, everybody's favorite whatever. She's joining Kick as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, but these are big content creators.
Yeah.
Twitch is screwed. Twitch is.
They're in a lot of trouble.
Kick's numbers
for
are
a long
way
time.
Up.
Like, as long as, or just shortly after the whole rumblings with YouTube with the first demonetization wave. What do they call it? Adpocalypse 1.
Yep.
Twitch was either at the same time or very shortly after. They were also on the downslide because they started seeing in quality, not in revenue. They started seeing what was going on and the conspiracy theory that these social media companies are being told what to do, so they had to took more money from content creators, put harsher rules in place. It's just good that they're finally getting their comeuppance, or rumblings of some serious rumblings, like, so pardon the pun, but with platforms like Rumble giving YouTube finally a better alternative than has been previously available.
Yeah, no
Twitter,
kidding.
Twitter Spaces, is that the new thing with Twitter?
Yeah.
Twitter Spaces, yeah, because that's also causing a huge kick up in that sphere of video hosting. If that ever becomes public usage, I can see that would dethrone potentially YouTube.
Hey, I'll be happy to send this show to Twitter. Not a problem for me.
It's just good that these companies are finally getting some competition, because it's breeding that notion that what they were doing to take advantage of their content creators isn't working. Like I mentioned before, you have that trifecta, the employees. These guys are basically employees, streamers like us, all the way up to multi-million deals like XQC and Joe Rogan. You have to treat them well, or your meal ticket is gone.
Yeah, I mean, just a short aside about me, won't be long, I promise. But in 1997, I was out at like 3000 Sand Hill Road trying to pitch these kinds of things. And the people I was talking to had no idea what I was even talking about, because it didn't exist.
Right.
I was trying to pitch this stuff long before it existed. And I even had this whole spiel about, well, it's going to be brilliant because we're going to get the users to basically produce the content so we don't have to, unlike a traditional newspaper. You know, and I was trying to sort of pitch this idea about the community involvement and
I wish I had known you then.
Yeah. I wish I was still that person. But anyway, it was, you try to convince people of all this stuff, and then it was like 2012 when some of these things started up, like Tumblr. I was looking at the history books. This is a little bit old to me. I haven't really followed the thing. Tumblr was once valued at $1 billion, and it was basically sold as a fire sale. By the time Yahoo got done with it, and then what was it, Verizon bought Yahoo? Trying to remember who it was. So Tumblr was bought by Yahoo, and then Yahoo was bought by somebody, I think it was Verizon, and then it ends up being sold off at a fire sale for like $3 million later. That's some serious devaluation. But Tumblr's whole thing was let users generate the content, give them a blogging platform that's in some ways less restrained and simpler to use than the other ones. So, you know, it had its own sort of unique spin on things, but turning these things that capture mind space into something that's like a viable business, like that's going to be around for 100 years, is very, very hard. Elon has definitely got his work cut out for him. All these people say, oh, I like Twitter the way it was. You mean losing money and eventually going to disintegrate? Somebody smart's actually trying to make it into something that can stand on its own 2 feet and survive. It's really hard.
Business.
It's really hard, because how do you monetize something? When you start out giving something away to people for free, how do you then turn it into something where it makes money? That's really not easy.
You turn the consumer into both product and employee.
Yeah, but it's still hard.
Think about what the problem is.
Yeah, very hard.
You have people. This is CRM. This is customer relationship management in the flesh. You have a customer who is not really been a customer. He's just somebody who comes up and takes something for free. And they have this relationship, so they go to the thing and they take the thing for free and they're gratified. That's the behavior. So just isolate that for a moment. How do you make money? How does the thing that gives the good thing to the customer, to the taker, how does he make money from the taker? Well, he can't, but the taker might be an interesting person to other people. Can the guy who gives the good thing sell something about the taker to someone else? If he can, and that's why advertising exists. That's exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
Like I was just saying, you look at what has happened the natural evolution of these platforms is the user, the taker becomes the content creator, who becomes the product, becomes the employee.
If you do that, you change the relationship fundamentally. If you have somebody who's just coming to a place and getting something and not having to give anything, that's a different thing than something where you interact with it. That's a completely different relationship.
I'm going to lead into that, Skep. Is
okay.
So first, the natural evolution seemed to be, the product was the employee, was the user. Now, not everybody makes it big. That's fine. It's a meritocracy. It's what people want to consume, and those people who make it big, they also consume. Not even the people who make it big, but just anyone, who's making a living off of these platforms. They also consume. Now, the problem has been that they haven't been acting, the platforms in themselves haven't been acting in that trifecta. I bring up that trifecta again, and is kind of devaluing both the product, the person, and the company by putting out staunch, nonsensical rules. Like, you might get banned for one thing and not get banned for something almost the exact same, or someone will say one thing, next person will say the exact same thing, and one of those people will get banned.
There's no consistency.
There's no consistency, and we see that on Twitter, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, all these platforms. So it's their intervention. It's a perfect microcosm of a free market, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you just let these people be and just be a platform, be a platform, the money will come in hand over fist, my friends, because people will want to use your platform. And
they don't mind the ads.
That you have to give.
They don't mind the ads in the side columns. That's where you make your money.
Yeah, most of it is through ads. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think like a third of YouTube's money is through super chats, but that was an additional, hey, let's give the people what they want. They want to be able to support this content creator directly.
Right.
Okay, let's give them that avenue directly built into the app, and we'll take a small percentage. I know it's almost not small anymore, but
no, it's very reminiscent of like the way that patrons supported musicians back in the 15th century.
The music industry was even a thing. Yeah. You had small little cartels of wealthy people
right, and
wanted music. They wanted art.
The opera societies actually collected dues and then distributed that money to musicians.
Yep,
that's how they paid them. Yeah.
And I was just about to say that, Assassin. And what some of these platforms did, they wanted to use them as insidious tools as opposed to companies to make money. And we see that with the Twitter files. Look at what happened when he opened up those papers. I don't know how much you guys have read, but the stuff that I saw was just like, this just became a giant psyop. There's no more ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Okay,
they wanted to take a successful company and turn it into a messaging machine.
Yeah,
propaganda.
Well, okay. There's a problem with this. They, as a publicly traded company, they have that, like Elon was talking about, a fiduciary responsibility to the shareholders to make money.
Right.
That's their reason for existing. I'll spare you the bad French. So now, if you are an ideologue and you can take other people's money to try to push your ideology, great. That's not a sustainable model. At some point, somebody's going to sue you into oblivion. And I'm hoping to see a lot more of that. So you're absolutely right. These ideologues were running the business in a way that wasn't about making money. It was about controlling minds. Now, if they want to do that as a nonprofit and get some NGO money, some of that sweet NGO money, knock yourself out.
Yeah,
but as a publicly traded company,
no,
or a company that I own shares in, no, you have a job, and your job is to make some bucks.
Right. Bingo.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm with you. And this business of spending extravagantly for social reasons, I'll tell you, seeing these companies get hit in the mouth like the way Bud Light has been, and the way some of the other ones, it's satisfying.
Isn't Modelo or somebody the new top dog now that Bud Light's been pushed down? I think Gio's.
It's Miller Lite, I think is.
No, it's a Mexican. It's a Mexican sounding beer. Hold on, let me see.
Modelo is a big brewery owner in Mexico. I know that.
Yeah, hold on. Let me bring it up here.
I'm just happy people are finally realizing that they have power with their wallet.
Okay.
They have more power than these corporations do.
What does it say here?
Let's see. Sales for Bud Light have fallen by more than 25%, and its competitors have since seen large increases in their sales. Other brands, Anheuser-Busch, have also taken a significant hit. Okay. Let's see. I thought it was in this article, but it's like one of the. Oh damn! Sorry, I missed the reference, but I'm fairly sure it's a Mexican beer sold in the U.S. or a Mexican named beer. We will have to find it. Sorry about that. So I don't know the answer, but yeah, they're 25%. That's firing time. That's where somebody needs to be held responsible.
As of May 2023, Mexican lager Modelo Especial took over the #1 spot from Bud Light.
And as cheap Mexican beer goes, that one's actually not terrible.
Oh no!
I mean, I would take that in a heartbeat over a Bud Light.
I used to drink Modelo. What was it? Modelo Negra? Was that what? Was that the? I think that was the beer, the dark beer.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah. So Mexican beer is now #1 in the U.S. Awesome.
Yeah. Yay! Go us. Yes, yeah, Bud Light had been the most popular beer in the United States for over 20 years, CNN reports, but as of May 2023, Mexican lager Modelo Especial holds the #1 spot.
Okay, I have to be just a little bit of a jerk because here's another thing that annoyed me. If it'll load. Okay, when school shootings happen, these Bay Area students aim to know whether to hide or run for their lives. So these three young ladies have come up with some sort of system by which they think they can identify where the school shooting is taking place. Now, at face value, you think, wow, this is great. How fantastic for these three young women. But this is okay, if you know anything about how this crap works, this is a huge nothing burger. Not only has it been done by other people before, but I don't think they fully understand what the challenges are to something like this.
Is this the drone in the hallway thing, or?
Well, they're going to put sensors up at Gunderson High School in San Jose.
Sensors. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I had a little something to do with some of this. I have this filed under Tech Yawn. Gunshot or gunfire location is actually something that's been done a bunch of times. There were people working on a project in East Palo Alto because people were getting shot all the time. What happens is gunshots have multiple, there's noise from the explosion, then there's also noise as the bullet travels through the air. And all of this noise will bounce off of all sorts of surfaces. So you get multiple signals. You get something akin to multipath distortion, like why your cell phone doesn't work in the urban canyons.
Yeah.
So you get multipath distortion. It's actually bloody difficult to figure out where a gunshot comes from inside a closed building with classrooms and hallways. You can tell that a noise happened, but just making sure that it was a gunshot and not something else.
That vibration
has
gone through so many changes. It goes from wall to wall to, no, exactly.
These young ladies are being recognized because A, it was a slow news day, and B, because they fit, it's part of the message that they're young female inventors.
Where is the? I'm sorry to just be that person, but
yeah.
Somebody's missing. This young lady is missing.
It's not.
Where's the black lady?
Well, they couldn't. I don't know, man.
Camera.
Maybe one of them identifies as black, but this kind of stuff just sort of pisses me off.
It's the camera creature. That's probably what it is.
This kind of stuff just pisses me off, though, because if you sort of fluff people up for non-accomplishments, it's what is it they call it? The bigotry of low expectations.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, it leads to that Dunning-Kruger effect of people who they know words like AOC does. She knows words. She doesn't know what those words mean. She knows roughly how to combine them together to vomit
Sound
out
cogent.
a weird version of the Democrat narrative, radical style. But you know, and that's what that leads to. This business of participation medals is so deadly to kids. To not offer real rewards for achievement, to not encourage achievement, to not encourage those instincts in them to always go for it, work hard, do your best. We don't urge that anymore. Now it's be in touch with yourself, love yourself, remember yourself comes first, and self comes first, self. That's beginning to erode the fabric of America, in my opinion.
So
and I'm happy to say it was my generation that ruined it.
Okay, so the EPA thing, East Palo Alto thing I was telling you about.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. The EPA thing, one of them was PhD seismologist John C. Lahr. Okay, he was one of the principals behind this thing. And I think, who was the other guy? Robert Schoen from SRI. I mean, these are the kinds of people that were working on this detection, and they were doing it in the open, outside, in a place without tall buildings.
Were they really?
Yeah, and it works. It works, because I can't remember which one I talked to, but I've actually talked to one of these guys about this project back when they were working on it. But anyway, the point is, I think I remember, I know which one it was. He's like a friend of mine. But anyway, these guys are bloody smart, really smart guys. These high school girls, I mean, with all due respect, it's a good idea, but I don't believe for a second that they have what it takes to pull this off in a way that actually works.
How can you say that these three women have not proved that they're smarter than somebody like Dr. Geller?
I'm allowed to be skeptical, right?
No, you're not. Not where this is concerned. That's racism. That's your racism speaking. That's what you need to.
Oh, wait.
You need to decenter your emotions.
Wait,
right
Biden's
now,
going to Los Gatos and Atherton? Oh, please, no.
No. Oh, Los Gatos.
Oh, God, no. Oh, he's gonna fly into freaking Moffat, and he's gonna jam up all the traffic.
Oh,
God.
Man.
Please don't. Anyway, okay, I just have to.
For too long. They actually get on and off pretty fast.
It actually can be really disruptive when people like that show up.
Yeah, it does.
Because the traffic is not great to begin with.
Right.
All right. Though I digress. I'm just saying that I've known some really smart people who've worked on stuff like this, had conversations about this topic. I don't think those young girls have what it takes to really understand it. Multipath distortion is really hard.
They have proved themselves far superior physicists to Dr. Geller. And you can see that just looking at them.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I'm glad
You have to accept.
That's
correct.
I'm glad we sorted this out. Okay.
Yep.
Let's see. Top streamers. I don't want to do this
Geller,
one. This one's stupid.
Who I have nothing but respect for.
Okay, so we have. I have a couple moral questions because I actually like these, especially if they end up splitting the room. I think that's actually the most fun is when all us, with mutual respect, all smart people, don't actually agree about this stuff. So feel free to tell me that you think I'm wrong about this. But this is a terrible story. This is an absolutely terrible story. Woman's heinous messages to estranged boyfriend, video of her having sex with another man led to his suicide. This is a terrible, terrible story.
So this is the happy story.
Yeah. A Pennsylvania woman pushed her estranged boyfriend to kill himself with a series of vicious texts and shameless video of her having sex with another man, prosecutors alleged. Mandy Shemp, 35, was charged in the twisted case that started 2 years ago when Kevin Metzger committed suicide after he received heinous and graphic messages from her. Metzger penned a suicide letter and posted on Facebook about the steady stream of tormenting messages before he took his own life at age 37. Now, there was a kid involved.
What is she being tried for? What is she being charged with?
I'm having trouble understanding this, honestly. I mean, I know she's being tried, but I'm trying to figure out what exactly.
I haven't heard a criminal act yet. I've heard free speech. I've heard hateful
I mean, she tormented
speech,
this guy and he killed himself, but as terrible as this is...
she hasn't done anything illegal, probably.
He needs to just get an attorney to try to get access to his kid, and he needs to block her messages.
Yeah.
Just block the messages and don't kill yourself.
But he's dead now.
Yeah, because if you kill yourself, it's like losing. It's, you know, if there was a conflict, I think you just automatically
knocking over
lost.
the chessboard.
Yeah.
It's knocking over the chessboard. You cannot win. You can't even tie.
She was charged with aiding suicide. She was charged with aiding suicide, a felony, and harassment, a misdemeanor.
Okay, abetting a suicide, which... okay. I see.
But if somebody's sending you messages like that, maybe you should just block them, and then they can't send you a video of them having sex with other people.
I don't see the aiding a suicide. I maybe see the harassment, but I don't see the aiding a suicide.
Just block him.
Aiding a suicide is handing them the gun, steadying the hand, and even helping tighten the trigger finger, and then just maybe going boo.
Yeah.
You know, that's aiding the suicide. That's not what she did.
Oh, you just want me to leave the garage door down? Okay. Yeah, that's aiding a suicide.
Exactly. Turn the car on for you, honey?
I mean, to my mind, she's a terrible, terrible piece of shit. She's human trash. She's
absolutely.
Just,
this is pond.
We all agree on that one.
She is
pond algae.
Just one of the most terrible human beings ever to live.
Bird shit. Yeah, absolutely.
On a person-to-person basis, obviously, you know, Stalin is way worse and communists are worse. But on an individual, don't put your penis in crazy level, this is about as bad as it gets.
Yeah. Now, she's Rashida Tlaib crazy, in my opinion.
Yeah, she's terrible. But I just keep reading this thinking, okay, she's a horrible piece of shit, but how is this her fault? Why doesn't he just block her? Is my analysis just way too simplistic? I mean, Functional, what do you think? Because you're being a little more quiet about this.
No, I'm agreeing with everything you guys are saying. Like, I'm all for her free speech, and I'm also a big fan of personal responsibility, and he had the responsibility to not listen to her.
This is a hard thing.
It.
This is a hard thing. Yeah. This is a hard thing for men, especially, to do.
Yeah.
But if you saw the sex tape of her having sex with this guy, his reaction, his reaction should have been, better him than me. Let him deal with that shit. And just move on. That's what I can't get. How could he not move on? This is partly... This is he was not a well person to do this. She's a piece of shit, and when a piece of shit hits a not well person, this is the kind of tragedy that can happen. That's just the way I would say it.
Yeah, I mean, sociopathy is more common than most people think because there are a lot of high-functioning sociopaths.
Sociopathy is the rule, Harry, as far as I can tell.
But, well, motivated self-interest and sociopathy aren't quite the same thing. But, I mean, she wasn't just indifferent to somebody else's feelings, not able to read them. I mean, she was just deliberately evil. And I don't use the E word very often. Yeah. But this woman is just terrible. Anyway.
She is. This is awful. What an awful, awful thing to do.
Well, let me throw another thing at you. Like that, this one is not so terrible. It's a shame I can't hear them.
I emancipated myself. So I was emancipated at 15.
Why?
My parents are going through their very, very messy divorce. I kind of felt like I started being used as a pawn in it, so I got a lawyer.
You got a lawyer at 15?
Mm-hmm.
How did you do that?
He was the father of a family friend of ours, and he was a family lawyer, and so it was a relatively not a difficult process.
What did your parents say about you getting emancipated? Did they try to stop you from doing that?
My mom was on board because she did not want me to be involved in the divorce.
Sure.
You know, I won't get into details, but it was my dad who was, I'm not very close with him. At the time, he was the one that was pulling me into it. And so I went to him and I said, this is unacceptable. I'm doing this because of the things that you are doing and the impact that you're having on our family. So if it's not contentious, your parents can both sign. And if the judge agrees that it's okay.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the idea of minors being emancipated, and I'll tell you why. If you have the means to sort of take control of your life, and you can go before a judge and you can make your point, I think that's a good safety valve, because we have all these questions of who decides. You talk about like the trans kids. Who decides?
Yeah.
And if the parents are pushing the kid to be trans and the kid doesn't want to be, there needs to be some kind of safety valve. And this is it. You go before a judge and you plead your case and say, I kind of attached to my penis, or it's attached to me, don't want it chopped off, or whatever. You know, pick the scenario. The same thing applies to all these things, because the parents have to be sort of the primary source. And emancipated minors are the thing that handles the cases where, for whatever reason, that doesn't work. But it's not the damn teachers. You know, it's the parents 99.9% of the time. But I like this system of minors being emancipated. I mean, family courts need to do something good, right? Or is this just me? I mean, I have some personal
separation
experience.
is useful. Yeah, that separation is useful for a number of reasons. You know, I've got some personal experience with that too, and I'm not going to recount that here, as do my grandchildren. But it's an extremely useful thing when that relationship needs to be dissolved for whatever reason. And there are a lot of reasons why it might have to be dissolved. Yeah, I'm a big fan.
I mean, if a 15-year-old wants to transition, right? And we always say we don't want 15-year-olds transition, okay? But if a 15-year-old wants to transition and the parents are dead set against it, the recourse shouldn't be to have people secretly send them hormones that they're not prescribed and medications they're not prescribed, and to do all this other crap. You know, these G-word people have made videos of them saying, "Oh, I'll just send you estrogen. I'll just do this stuff." No, you know, if the parents aren't on board with it, I think it's incumbent upon the kid to do something like what Brett did. You know, if you can convince a judge that you got your I's dotted and your T's crossed, and that that your gender dysphoria is best treated in this way, knock yourself out. I just want the teachers and the administrators and all the other people who don't have a vested interest in this to just get the hell out of it.
You know, one thing about this gender dysphoria thing, I would want a kid who's thinking about that kind of surgery to see what the surgery involves, what it looks like all the way through, and what you end up with afterwards, what you start with and what you end with. And I would like that shown to them in graphic detail, in vivo if possible, and then let them make a little more informed decision about how far down this path they feel moved to go.
Oh, by the way, Kefki, you can be angry and you can be outraged. That's totally okay. That's what the moral questions are about. Don't feel like there's any. You could just do that. It's totally fine. But I mean, trans is just one example. There's lots of reasons why somebody might need to become emancipated.
Yeah.
The parents are the primary, and if for some reason that fails because the mom's boyfriend is a piece of shit or whatever, just pick a scenario. We all know plenty of examples of this stuff. Then
you see
become
Assassin of the
emancipated.
Gray's last comment, trans is the new anorexia. That's, Trinity element. Nice. Well said.
Yeah.
Well said. Well said. Kefki, it made us angry too. we think that woman is out of her mind, crazy bitch, crazy.
Yep.
It's just what we were talking about was a question of legality. What she did on a moral level was absolutely reprehensible and unforgivable.
Yeah.
As far as thinking of the men, we are thinking of the men, but it's not so much who's going to protect the men. It's just like, men, protect yourself. When there's a woman like this, just say no. Just no. Once the abuse started, it's just like, you're just going to talk to my lawyer. That's
right.
And then we'll work out whatever visitation's going to happen or what have you. Because there's no reasoning with somebody like this. When somebody starts coming at you like that,
right,
there's not going to be a conversation that solves anything.
Yeah. There's not going to be mediation.
It's all going to be done through the solicitors at that point.
Sassets is not crazy, sadistic, petty, and cruel. Don't get it.
Yeah.
No kidding, bud. Oh, I know.
I mean, I don't like the story, but I like these kinds of questions. I was...
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, unfortunately we all agreed, which makes it much less of a good conversation. Here's a thing, which I thought was interesting, another clip maybe let me get your take on this.
The guy ran out of questions. Ran out of questions. How do you run out of questions when you're interviewing the guy who says that he wants to preserve humanity by extending it over several planets? How do you run out of questions when you're interviewing a guy who has built one of the most successful breakthrough innovative companies in the world in Tesla? How do you run out of questions? How is that possible? That is a dereliction of duty. You know, when we were in America just now, I was on Bill Maher's show.
Yeah, the question is just how bad do you have to be at your job to run out of questions for Elon Musk?
I think that's a fair question to ask.
I mean,
That's
seriously.
fucking insane. What?
I mean, we were talking about the hearts and minds thing earlier, the controlling people's thought. And I think far too much of journalism has just turned into that. And then when confronted with an opportunity to do what traditionally was your job,
right,
is just like, there's just huh? I mean,
who, what, when, there, why, and I asked all those. Then what do I do then?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that interviewer from the BBC who interviewed Jordan Peterson was so sad that they couldn't get her to do it, so they sent some other lightweight. It's like, no, you got a guy like that. It should be easy. In fact, the questions pretty much just write themselves. I mean, for the most part, Elon will just keep talking if you shut up.
Yeah, exactly. With Elon, all you have to do is you ask him real general questions. Tell me your thoughts about, and then you can almost do your questions just by the noun subject of that sentence.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me your thoughts on blah blah blah. The object of that sentence. And you could just have a list of space, international exploration, Starlink, all the Tesla, EV.
How are we going to recycle solar panels? How are we going to recycle?
Exactly.
Are you really going to build your
own batteries?
Are you really going to have your own lithium mine? What about what about the liability issue for self-driving cars? It's not hard.
Yeah. I mean, they can make lithium in an atom smasher. Did you know they could do that?
Oh, totally.
And
I think
that's just a question. Right? That's just a question of scaling.
It's just an implementation detail, right?
Yeah, it's implementation detail. They're making it by the atom right now.
Yeah, that sounds great, Skep.
You make one atom's pretty much like another. Am I right?
Yeah. Well, here's another.
How many of these things we gonna need?
Here's another thing I can get your reaction to. And I actually want to have a talk about statistics after this, just a little bit. A fun talk about statistics.
No math.
I know I'm going to get shit for pointing this out, but the common denominator is always the same in these videos. I know everybody steals, but why is it that I see so many videos of black men stealing? It's always a big group.
You get the gist of the point,
it's always
right?
The same in the comments.
The gist of the point is the same feeling that I have of every time I see some sort of well-organized mass shooter. It's like, why is it always some angry white dude? But that doesn't mean that just because most of the people who do a particular bad thing are of a particular group, that all the people in that group are guilty of that thing.
Exactly.
It's a very, very, very small percentage of people who are like mass shooters. That doesn't mean that if you walk down the street, the J random white dude is likely to be a mass shooter. It's maybe almost homeopathically levels of increase,
yes, exactly. That
more
low
than
dosage,
if it was
yes.
like somebody else. You know, like say if you had like an 8-year-old child. I mean, it's a little more likely than that, but still, out of a country of 350 million people, it's just not that likely, right?
No.
So the whole idea of feeling weird about people who are like you doing something bad, but if it's in small numbers, it doesn't necessarily reflect on you. If it's every third person in your community, well, maybe some soul searching needs to take place. But
yeah, that's a really good point. Crime density, the density of people who habitually commit crime. When that density begins to rise, and you're starting to see that in places like Philadelphia, Baltimore, Detroit, Chicago, and even New York City, parts of New York City, are starting to have these areas where they've always been gang controlled, but it's never been like this, and they've never fought over specific businesses that they're running protection rackets on. It's absolutely warfare, absolute and complete warfare, and people join gangs there just for survival.
Mm-hmm. Depending on...
It's an extremely complicated problem.
Yeah, well, depending on how you count mass shootings and what things you leave out, you can argue that it's not primarily white men. I understand Assassin's point. That's why I said well-organized. That was sort of my euphemistic thing for...
Yeah.
You know, like the Vegas shooter. I mean, there was a man with a plan who knew how to provision his supplies and knew how to execute things.
But therein lies the problem. Like, the representation in the media is so disproportionate from reality that you get reactions like Mr. shaking his head looking disapproving at the guy making the spicy video. That's how you get people like that, because that's what they're told. They're told all mass shootings are disgruntled white men. Well, no, not if you actually definitively, from the definition of mass shooters, people like 3 or more injuries or whatever it is, or 2 or more, depending on your location. I mean, it's those high crime density areas, and we're talking violent crime here.
Well, for the sake of argument, suppose there's 400 mass shootings a year, and they're all white dudes between the ages of 30 and 40. I mean, this is not true, but just for the sake of argument.
Yeah.
In a country of 350 million people-ish, that still means that when you're walking down the street, the likelihood that J random 30 to 40-year-old white guy is a mass shooter is incredibly small. To take that kind of guilt and pass it off on a group of people under those circumstances is incredibly stupid.
Yeah,
but you know, if it turns out that like half of the people in your neighborhood are running drugs or involved with violent gangs or something like that, then all you can really do at that point is find the good ones and get them out of that area as quickly as possible. Just try to save the people who haven't been sucked into those things. Because once people are too far gone, there's not a whole lot you can do to save them.
And where they end up is with prisons. Now our prisons are overflowing, and the DAs in some of these cities, that's why they're letting these people effectively just go. You know, you do a crime, you report to jail, and you're bonded out, and they never see you again.
It used to be that you could, if you just sort of kept your nose clean, a way out would be to join the military. Just manage to make it to the age of 18 without doing anything incredibly stupid. Be reasonably good at your schooling and don't be massively overweight, and you can get into the military, and your life, your trajectory will just change for the better.
My son had been arrested on a couple of serious misdemeanors and had been convicted, and that was his way out. That was his ticket to a college degree in math and a success as a real estate guy.
Yeah, I know there's not 400 mass shootings in a year. It's just a hypothetical to show how the numbers work. I said even if there were, it still wouldn't mean that there's like this collective white male guilt. That's the point I'm trying to make. It's still very rare. And I know that depending on what point people want to make, you can make those shooting statistics look like all sorts of things by deciding to leave certain things out and put certain things in. I'm aware. I've seen enough of that stuff, but I don't want to get us completely canceled by blackpilling everybody in the chat about gun statistics. But it's the whole.
Here comes the true part.
But it's the whole Bayesian. It's the whole Bayesian thing. You know, most grandmasters at chess, the best chess players in the world, are almost exclusively men.
Yep.
That doesn't mean that if you walk up to a random guy at the mall, he's going to be a grandmaster at chess.
No,
it's the same sort of thing. I just get frustrated by how people don't understand statistics and Bayesian thinking. It frustrates me, because this is like a tool that I use all the time, but it's the kind of critical thinking thing they really should teach in school.
It's also something, understanding those concepts that informs your perception and apprehension of the world, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's a shame it doesn't do that for everybody. The world would be a different place. Stereotypes would be completely different.
So, moving on to a completely different topic.
And now for something completely different.
So there was a company called Lucira who made a 30-minute home COVID test kit that was as accurate as the PCR tests. Used a different technology, but gave you the same level of results. So unlike the crappy test where you swab your nose and then sort of pray that it's 90% accurate, this thing was lab accurate in the home for 30 minutes. Now, they were working on a test that would tell you not only whether you had COVID or if you had the flu. So you could even get a correct diagnosis, like, do I need Tamiflu or do I just need to stay away from people? But because the FDA required a certain percentage of the results in the sample set to have cases of certain types of flu, they wouldn't be able to actually test this thing and get it certified under the FDA guidelines until essentially it meant that they would have to wait until there was like a bad flu season before they could even get this thing to market. And they just they just ran out of money. And they ended up being sold at a fire sale by Pfizer. So now Pfizer they can either squash the technology so that nobody else can use it, or they can co-opt it for their own purposes. And the real complaint here is just that the FDA, you spent $80-something billion to get more IRS inspectors. I don't know, how about not spending $80 billion to get more IRS inspectors and just having $1 billion more to beef up the process for certifying medical devices? Because in this country, it's very, very hard to get a medical device certified. Meaning that only the biggest of the biggest companies can even do it most of the time.
That can even afford the process, Yeah,
I mean, Americans are not being served well by the FDA because all around the world, people can buy all sorts of useful things that just aren't available to us.
This is why I have said for years, make the FDA advisory. Change nothing else except repeal all the laws that give them drug enforcement of any kind.
We'd be better off.
You can put anything in your body you choose to put in there. They retain their function as advisory, and we're going to start relying on people to be a little bit smarter. And we're going to invite Dr. Darwin to our seminar to do a little research. It's going to happen. And you know what? It will be good for us. Honest to God. I know I sound like a eugenics crazy person, trying to trim the population. We need more freedom, not less freedom. We don't have enough freedom. That's what's really making people unhappy right now.
Yeah, if you have the flu, the flu, like the real flu, it's not fun. It can be really, really not fun.
Oh, yeah.
And there are things that have been available for a while, but you have to take them right away if you want to turn your 5-day flu into a 3-day flu.
Right, exactly.
And if you're
actually, I've got to tell you, that stuff really does work for me.
Yeah. Well, you have to take the right one, because the important thing is you have to know you have the flu, and you need to know right away.
Right.
Now, there is a lab that you can get a home test, and in 2 days, they'll let you know if you have the flu. Good luck getting to your doctor or getting a prescription for Tamiflu or one of the similar things in the amount of time you have left for it to make a difference.
Nope.
Ain't going to happen.
You have to have it on hand.
So why does the U.S. not have at-home flu tests? So I was looking at this new publication, well, new to me, called STAT, which is a thing for medical professionals. And they tell a pretty interesting story about this. It turns out that even simple things like home pregnancy kits, it took it took a long time. They came up with it in 1967. They weren't approved until 1977. And a lot of the discussion in the meetings that they have around these types of medical devices is, well, why wouldn't you just go to your doctor? Well, what if I don't want a doctor to be the intermediary?
Right.
What if I just want to know, do I have the flu? And then, can I take the pill to make it be less terrible?
Exactly.
I don't need a doctor to get in the way for all this stuff. But the FDA doesn't understand this. Not only do they not have the staff to keep up with the process for all the people that are applying, but they don't even really understand why home testing is essential. Now, the pandemic changed that a little bit. The thinking is a little bit more than it was. But yeah, just take the $79 million, give it back to the taxpayers, and then just increase the number of people who certify things at the FDA. Sorry, I'm being a little preachy. It's just annoying to me.
No, I'm with you.
Yeah.
They're not helping. They're not helping as much as they hurt.
They're just getting in the way.
They are just getting in the way.
But they're from the government, and they're here to help.
And the technology is there. I mean, it's if they hadn't run out of money, those people who made that COVID kit probably would have come out with the one that was a twofer. Because you just having the knowledge means you can do something with it. You can decide you don't give a crap. You can just go about your business. You can lock yourself up for 5 days. You can take the pill or not. I mean, that's between you and whatever. That's your choice. But I like to at least have access to the damn information. Let's see.
And you make it so that the companies are responsible. So if they do release a harmful product, guess what? They're financially responsible and potentially morally. If they knew that there was side effects XYZ from their product or whatever, or one of the elements of their product was not safe, or so that leaves the onus on them to self-regulate and regulate it well, because you don't want to lose money on a product. You want to make money on the product.
You want a palate cleanser?
Please.
Sure. I've got James Woods.
Do you see what's going on here?
No.
She's trying to cover a shadow with paint.
Oh, there's a shadow there
There's a shadow
from the banister.
From the banister, and she keeps looking at it and trying to cover it with more and more paint.
God bless your heart.
I just can't understand why this won't cover. This cheap paint. Okay. Oh, I think Kefki's still here. She'll like this this next thing. A flying squirrel faking its own death. No, that doesn't work, apparently. Never mind. I can't show you that one.
Flying squirrel faking.
Yeah, I was promised.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
We
fine.
want to see Rocky.
Fine. I'll bring it up a different way. Hold on. We can just watch this woman try to paint that shadow.
I just want what I was promised.
Who knows what?
You people are so annoying. Okay.
We are the shareholders. It's your fiduciary responsibility to give us
The
what
shadow knows.
we're promised. Oh God!
Cover that shadow.
Thank God
How
you're
long is
hot.
this thing?
Well, at least she's promising that she is, right?
Still working on
I mean, she might be a butterface, but the fact that she's doing stuff like this, that adds to the hotness value. Even if it is, let's not discount the entertainment value, because hubby is the one filming.
Yeah, he's not saying anything. Damn it, I don't think I can play it. I apologize.
All right.
I'll make it happen later. I promise this will be a thing that happens in the future.
Okay.
Okay.
Holding you to that.
Sorry about that. USB teaching machines.
Now your mic sounds all staticky.
Oh, good. I was waiting for everything to go to crap. Is it really that bad?
It's kind of bad.
Awesome.
Just reverse whatever you did.
I didn't do anything, dude.
You know, I've got the squirrel thing.
Oh, you do?
If you want to see it? Yeah,
but I don't have a good way to portray it if you show it. That's the problem.
Oh, you can't. You can't embiggen me.
No, not really.
It would just show up in my little thing. Okay.
It would. It would be a problem.
Okay. No worries. No worries. It's cute.
Okay. Just let me know if my audio becomes unbearable. So, it is the 45th anniversary of the creation of the Blues Brothers. And the movie was released about 43 years ago on the 20th of this month. And I really like that movie. It's one of those movies where I can't think of anything that would make it better. And that, to me, that's like a perfect movie. I'm like, it doesn't need to be shorter. It doesn't need to be longer. Nothing needs to be cut. Nothing about it bugs me. I think it is one of those movies that's about as good as it can get.
Yep.
John Landis did a hell of a good job with that movie.
Absolutely. And the music in it is just perfect. It's just perfect for it.
So I found 45 a listicle with 45 different trivia things. Obviously, we don't need to go through every single one of them. The inspiration for the fried chicken and Coke scene was that they actually saw John Belushi eat four chickens. Because, you know, why not? They didn't actually destroy 100 cars. They actually had 20 of them that they fixed over and over. They killed 25 cars by the end of the movie.
That's funny.
John Belushi wasn't really into the blues before Dan Aykroyd introduced them to them. Another thing. And I was completely blown away by the fact that Dan Aykroyd proposed to Carrie Fisher, and they were ready to get married, and then at the last minute she got back together with Paul Simon.
Yep.
Had you heard that?
I remember reading that a long time ago.
I sort of didn't understand the degree to which Dan Aykroyd was really making this a much better movie. I mean, I knew John Landis did a lot of stuff, and obviously these are all talented people. But
Dan Aykroyd's a very talented guy. Do you know he's actually a legit harmonica player?
I did not know that.
Yeah. He can really play the harmonica. He can blow the blues harp like a pro. Like you hear a pro do it.
Well, apparently Aretha Franklin wanted to do Respect instead of Think, but they cajoled her into it. I think that makes it a much better movie, honestly. I think she just liked singing the song Respect. The other problem was that she had a lot of difficulty lip syncing as part of this because she tends not to sing things the same way twice.
Right.
So that was an issue for her. But I really just like this movie quite a bit. It's a damn good movie. There aren't a whole lot of other movies that have that same, I don't know, that are sort of perfect
charm.
Yeah,
charm. It was the perfect put together of all the you had sympathetic characters, you had comic characters,
great music,
terrific music. Every time, one of the first leads I ever learned on the guitar was Soul Man, and every time that those first two notes, it just takes me back. It's a wonderful movie. Yeah, I would recommend that. That's in my top 10 movies of all time. Isn't it yours?
I don't know if it's top 10 of all time, but it's certainly top 20.
Yeah.
There's a lot of movies like that that I just would not change. I mean, I personally think Ferris Bueller is a fantastic movie for the same reason. Not that it's the best movie ever, just that it doesn't need any more or any less of anything. It all just kind of works.
Yeah.
You know, the amount of self-loathing that Cameron had was just the right amount. You know, the torture of his sister was just the right amount. The parents were perfect. It's kind of a perfect little movie, sort of like the Blues Brothers. But in terms of raw talent, I mean, Carrie Fisher was amazing, and Aykroyd and Belushi, just the comic timing was fantastic. I think it was one of the weird pieces of trivia I found is it was Landis's wife who suggested the Ray-Bans. They didn't have the sunglasses originally. It's a damn fine movie, and I feel incredibly old knowing it was 45 freaking years ago. But I guess that's just to be expected, right? You get older, and then things like this just sort of happen. Can you think of any other movies that are perfect, you know, for what they are, but not necessarily the world's greatest movie? Because anybody can just start talking about Citizen Kane and that kind of stuff. I'm not talking about movies that are up their own ass, but just movies that are just perfect as they are.
You know what's coming? You know what's happening with your audio, Harry? I'm sorry to change the subject, but it's so obnoxious. I can hardly understand you.
Well, we're going to have to end the stream. We're going to end the stream.
Listen to me for a second. Listen just for a second. What's happening with your audio? It sounds like a distorted version of what you just said is coming through like 20 or 30 voices at once, and it just comes through as but I can hear the same rhythm, the same cadence of your words in what's coming through, but it sounds like a million distorted versions of it. So if
it's still
that's
the same,
any help
right?
in troubleshooting, right? Yeah, it's that way now.
I can't fix it while the stream's going on.
Yeah,
we're just going to have to end it.